Hello and welcome to the Stoic Life channel. For the next few minutes, we are going to embark on a fascinating journey into the human mind. We'll be exploring the foundational concepts of psychology not as a dense academic textbook, but as a guide to understanding why we think, feel, and behave the way we do. This journey will be structured around what we call the 5 pillars of psychology. These are the major perspectives, or lenses, through which psychologists study human experience. Think of them as 5 different maps for the same vast and complex territory, the human psyche. No single map shows you everything, but together, they provide an incredibly rich and detailed picture. So, find a comfortable space, let your mind settle, and let's begin with our first, and perhaps most famous, pillar. At its core, the biological perspective argues that to understand the mind, we must first understand the body, specifically, the brain and the nervous system. This pillar is all about the physical hardware of our being. Imagine your brain is a supercomputer. The biological perspective is concerned with the wiring, the electricity, the chemistry, and the physical structures that make it run. It explores how our thoughts, moods, and actions are influenced by neurotransmitters, which are the brain's chemical messengers. A tiny fluctuation in serotonin or dopamine can profoundly affect our happiness, motivation, and even our ability to cope with stress. It also looks at brain structures. The hippocampus is vital for memory, the amygdala is central to our experience of fear and anger, and the frontal lobe is the seat of our judgment and planning. Damage or unique development in any of these areas can dramatically alter who we are. Furthermore, this perspective considers our genetics, the basic blueprint that predisposes us to certain traits and vulnerabilities, and our hormones, which dictate our stress response and growth. This pillar has given us incredible insights. It helps explain why medication can help manage depression, how a stroke can change a personality, and the deep, physiological roots of conditions like schizophrenia. It reminds us that we are, in a very real sense, biological beings. If the biological perspective is about the brain's hardware, then the cognitive perspective is all about the software. It focuses on our internal mental processes, how we take in, process, store, and retrieve information. This is the pillar of thought. It's concerned with attention, or what we notice in a crowded room and what we filter out. It deals with memory, how we encode experiences, store them, and why we sometimes forget. It studies perception, how we interpret the raw data from our senses to construct our reality. It delves into problem solving and decision making, the mental steps we take to overcome obstacles and make choices, both big and small. And it explores language, our remarkable ability to use symbols and syntax to communicate complex ideas. Cognitive psychologists might study the cognitive biases that lead us to make irrational judgments, or the strategies that help students learn more effectively. They explore the mind as an information processor. When you're trying to remember a name, planning your day, or deciding what to believe, you are using the cognitive processes this pillar seeks to understand. It's the science of thinking about thinking. This pillar originates from the work of Sigmund Freud, and while many of his specific ideas have been revised or rejected, the core perspective remains profoundly influential. The psychodynamic perspective suggests that our behavior and feelings are powerfully affected by unconscious motives and conflicts from our childhood. Imagine an iceberg. The tip above the water is our conscious mind, the thoughts we are aware of. But the vast mass beneath the surface is the unconscious, a repository of feelings, thoughts, urges, and memories that are hidden from our conscious awareness. According to this view, our early childhood experiences shape our adult personality in fundamental ways. Unconscious conflicts between primal desires, our internalized moral standards, and the demands of reality can create anxiety and manifest as psychological symptoms or so-called Freudian slips. We also use unconscious defense mechanisms, like repression and denial, to protect ourselves from anxiety-arousing thoughts. Modern psychodynamic therapy is less about Freud's couch and more about exploring patterns in relationships, understanding how the past lives on in the present, and bringing unconscious material into the light of awareness to foster healing and change. It's the pillar that insists there is always more going on beneath the surface. In stark contrast to the psychodynamic focus on the hidden depths of the unconscious, the behavioral perspective says we should focus only on what we can directly observe and measure, behavior. Its famous mantra is that psychology should be the science of behavior, not of the mind. This pillar emerged from the work of Ivan Pavlov, John B. Watson, and B. F. Skinner. It proposes that all behavior is learned through interaction with the environment. The two primary learning mechanisms are classical conditioning and operant conditioning. Classical conditioning, made famous by Pavlov's dogs, is learning by association. A neutral stimulus, like a bell, is paired with a meaningful stimulus, like food, until it elicits the same response, such as salivation. Operant conditioning, championed by B. F. Skinner, is learning by consequences. Behaviors that are reinforced, with the reward or the removal of something unpleasant, are likely to be repeated. Behaviors that are punished are likely to be suppressed. The behavioral perspective has been incredibly powerful in shaping therapies for phobias, addiction, and child-rearing practices. It's a powerful reminder of how our environment shapes our habits, from why we feel anxious when entering a dentist's office to why we work harder when we know a promotion is possible. By the mid-20th century, some psychologists felt that the previous pillars were too deterministic. The biological perspective saw us as controlled by our brain chemistry, the behavioral by our environment, the psychodynamic by our unconscious. The humanistic perspective emerged as a third force in response, with a radically different and uplifting view. This pillar, championed by Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, focuses on the human potential for growth, free will, and the drive towards self-actualization. Key principles include self-actualization, which is the innate tendency to strive to realize our full potential and become the best version of ourselves. It emphasizes free will, proposing that we are active agents in our own lives, not simply puppets on strings of biology or conditioning. Carl Rogers emphasized the importance of unconditional positive regard, empathy, and genuineness in fostering healthy development. And Abraham Maslow gave us the hierarchy of needs, a pyramid which suggests we must satisfy basic needs like hunger and safety before we can pursue higher-level psychological needs and ultimately achieve self-actualization. The humanistic perspective is the foundation for much of modern coaching and person-centered therapy. It gives us the concepts of living authentically and being your true self. It is the pillar that celebrates what is uniquely and wonderfully human. So, there they are. The 5 pillars of psychology. The biological pillar, showing us we are physical beings. The cognitive pillar, exploring the software of our minds. The psychodynamic pillar, diving into our unconscious depths. The behavioral pillar, demonstrating how we learn from our environment. And the humanistic pillar, championing our capacity for growth and meaning. Remember, these are not competing truths. They are complementary perspectives. A single event, like a bout of anxiety before a speech, can be understood through all 5 lenses, as a surge of adrenaline, a pattern of negative self-talk, a remnant of a childhood shaming experience, a learned response to past negative feedback, and a barrier to achieving one's potential. The true power of psychology lies in holding these multiple perspectives at once. It allows for a more compassionate, nuanced, and complete understanding of ourselves and each other. Thank you for joining this exploration. May it serve as a useful map as you continue your own journey into understanding the magnificent complexity of the human experience.